Good evening. I'm Charles Duffy, and this is Political Pulse. Tonight, we're going to take on the County Council race in District 4. It's scheduled for next week, and we're pleased to have Robin Ficker on the Republican side. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure as always, Charles.
And Nancy Navarro on the Democratic side. Thank you for joining us also.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Let's start with you, Nancy. And really, it looks like the big issue in Montgomery County right now is the budget. It looks like the county is about $500 million in the hole. The unions have given back some of their wage increases or furlough days or things like that, but that's only going to make up a small portion. It looks like the county's still going to have to make up $200 or $300 million of the deficit. Really, it looks like to me the only way that you can deal with, the county council can deal with the deficit is raise property taxes or make cuts. How do you look at the county budget deficit?
I think that we're definitely facing a very difficult situation, really an unprecedented situation. And as you mentioned before, the fact that the unions were able to come to the table and give up their raises was really significant, especially for
some of them.
Some of them. But you know, I want to point out that at least for the school system unions, that was really important because they came out first, and it was actually a message that was sent. And it saved $89 million off the bat. And so that was very important from the get-go.
But where do we go with the last $200 or $300 million?
I think that we are going to be, we're going to have to look very seriously at issues such as furloughs, for example. We're going to have to look deeper into some of the cuts. I don't foresee any council member wanting to raise property taxes. This is a middle of a recession. This is not something that anybody is talking about. I do believe that there's going to have to be further cuts, and I think everybody's preparing for that.
80% of the budget is wages. Aren't there going to have to be further cuts to wages?
I believe that there's going to probably have to be some, yes.
Okay. Robin Ficker, how do you look at the county budget? Do you raise property taxes? Do you make cuts? If you make cuts, what are you going to cut?
Well, I think the only reason we did not have a property tax increase this year was that there were only 8 council members. Under my amendment, which was passed by 200,000 homeowners last November, they need 9 council votes. If I'm on the council, they will not have that 9th vote. I'm not going to let homeowners be used as an ATM, as Nancy has in the past. She was for a 30% increase in a recession for employees' contracts over a 3-year period, requiring the largest property tax increase in a generation, causing hundreds of foreclosures in Montgomery County. And as a real estate broker, I know the pain foreclosures cause.
But it is apparent that property taxes aren't going to be raised this year. But let's face it, if you are elected to county council, you're going to have to make a decision on what to cut. What would Robin, separate and apart from the property tax issue, which we're going to discuss, what would you cut, Rob?
I don't think anyone on the council has any interest in cutting anything. In the last election year, 2006, the county budget increased 14.6%, so the council would have a lot of goodies to pass around in an election year. Look at police disability gate. For 8 or 9 months, the council did a lot of hand-wringing and wasn't even able to come up with a 2-tier system so that those who are competing in fitness contests are getting full disability. I don't think the council has any interest in cutting. I don't think Nancy has any interest in cutting, but I am not going to be the 9th vote to allow the council to exceed the charter property tax limit to give us that big property tax increase that they want to give homeowners next year, the election year. And that's what this election is about, Charles.
This budget season, county council is going to have to make cuts, $200 or $300 million in cuts. 80% of the budget's wages, 50% of the budget is schools, the school budget. I mean, somebody's going to have to start cutting some serious programs there with the county council to meet the budget.
Well, that's this year. But you see, the person that's elected next Tuesday won't be able to vote on the budget this year. Next year is what it's all about, and that's when the council has a big property tax increase plan for us in an election year, so they have those goodies to spread around. But I'm going to represent the 200,000 homeowners that passed the Ficker Amendment last November, represent their viewpoint. They're tired of being used as an ATM. Homes are over-assessed now in Montgomery County, 10 to 15%.
Well, let's talk
already.
about the Ficker Amendment and property taxes. The Ficker Amendment, Nancy, as you know, makes it more difficult for the county council to raise property taxes. Now all 9 members of the county council have to vote. Before the Ficker Amendment, it was only 7 of 9 members to override what they call the property tax cap. But do you think the Ficker Amendment, and the Ficker Amendment won in District 4, as I recall, it was a narrow margin, but it did win in District 4. Was the Ficker Amendment, the property tax amendment, a good thing?
Well, first let me say that it's very disingenuous for my opponent to talk about us, negotiating contracts with our unions 3 years ago in the middle of a recession, because we were not in a recession 3 years ago. And there were many things that were able to be negotiated, because when you have a long-term contract, there are a lot of things that you can gain from that, but there's always the clause where you can go and revisit, and that's what we did. So I just want to say that. I think the issue with this amendment was, that people really understood that, of course, nobody wants an increase in property tax, and the way that it was presented and worded, that's what people were talking about. And I think, the council members understood that. The problem with this amendment is that it gives veto power to one council member, and that's a dangerous precedent.
So you're against the Ficker Amendment?
Yes, I am.
And under what circumstances would you vote to override the property tax cap?
I think that as we are facing a situation such as now, and I think that if we were able to be in a situation where we could say the revenues perhaps could be projected to come forth. I think those are times when we can look at it. We have issues in the county a lot of times where we're not able to truly see what the forecast of the revenues are going to be before we have to make decisions. I don't think this is a moment to raise property taxes. I would not do so. Whether there was a Ficker Amendment or not, everybody understands that we are facing unprecedented economic times. So, this is just a moot point. This is
So
just
you
not
would
something
do it,
that
but
would
you're not
happen.
sure under what circumstances you would do it, but not this, under this year's circumstances?
I think we have had other circumstances in the past where we had looked at things like the rainy fund and not wanting to go there, when we have seen that there's a projection later on where the economy would be strong. And I think there's been opportunities to do that. This is not one of them. We are in the middle of a recession. This is not something that is going to occur. And council members understand that, and they have stepped up to the plate to look at places to cut.
I think that's nonsense. I think Nancy is a sure vote to exceed the charter property tax limit next year.
But she said she wasn't, Robin.
That's this year. Next year, she's a sure vote. Look at the campaign contributions. 22% of her campaign contributions are from unions. She told the unions this year that she would be willing to raise taxes to meet their budget requirements, to meet their contract requirements. I think we have to consider homeowners. She never mentions the word homeowner. They're the backbone of this county that made this county great. They need to be protected, and I'm going to be the homeowners champion on the councils so that we don't have huge tax increases like a 13.5% property tax increase that she brought about because of the contract she approved.
When the firefighters asked me in my interview if I would support the raises for their COLAs next year, I said no. And I have said the same to every union because we understand the next year is going to be even more difficult.
Okay,
so that is nonsense in terms of what he is saying. It is not true. We understand that there's not going to be money available for raises next year. And the working families, the ones that are the members of these unions, understand that. They are willing to step up and feel
Nancy,
the pain as well.
can you, I mean, the unions are backing your campaign in a big way. The SEIU, the teachers, the Apple ballot, the Montgomery County government, Local 1994. I mean, if Gino Wren, who heads up one of those unions, comes to you and say, hey, Nancy, we supported you, we gave you money, we worked for you on election day, we need you on this vote, Nancy, you're going to have to override, because they've been fighting, Ike Leggett, really, very, very tough fight.
Sure.
And they come to you and say, Nancy, we supported you, we gave you money. Can you say, no, I'm not going to go over that property tax to sustain your raises?
Yes, I can. When I had to bring to the table the heads of the teacher unions, the SEIU Local 500, and the principals union and say to them, you know, last year I did fight for their raises. The school system cut a lot of other areas in order to honor that, and I stood by the teachers and the cafeteria workers, et cetera. But I brought them back to the table and said, we can't do that this year. And I had to look at them in the eye and say that. And I knew that there was a possibility they would never endorse me again. But that's what a public official is supposed to do.
Robin, this is not a referendum on the Ficker. This election is not a referendum on the Ficker amendment. It's really about you're voting for a person rather than an amendment. Blair Lee, in one of his columns recently, said, in Montgomery, no Montgomery politician ever lost an election by raising taxes. I mean, it's Montgomery County. It's okay to vote to raise taxes here.
Well, we've done that. We've raised all the taxes that there are already. But I think it's a little bit disingenuous for Nancy to say that she's for working families when her own family got a judgment against it in Baltimore City Circuit Court for $19,000 in unpaid unemployment taxes, her husband's company. How can she say her family is for working families when there's a court judgment against her
I'm going to let you address that, but I want to
husband's company?
No, I'm going to let Nancy address that, but I want to talk about let's talk about the issues and stay away from personal attacks. But go ahead, take 30
seconds. Tax issue.
It is a personal attack because this was a situation.
Here's the judgment
back in 1999. Charles. And it has been settled with the IRS.
It's 2008.
Robin, let Nancy.
2008.
Robin, let me.
It has been paid, and there is nothing outstanding. So.
Okay, what about this whole, the culture of Montgomery County? No Montgomery County politician ever lost an election by raising taxes. So this is just the culture of Montgomery County.
I think that this election is about the Ficker Amendment and continuing to represent the 200,000 homeowners that voted for that amendment. This is just the next logical step. Now they want to see that amendment implemented. They want to see someone on the council who says, no, we are not going to raise property taxes above the charter limit. Last year, the council raised property taxes above the charter limit by 400%. We already have 8 council members who have done that. We don't need a 9th member just like them. We need someone to promote a commission, a county committee on waste and duplication. We need someone to give a property tax credit to first-time home buyers. We need someone to protect the homeowners that have been used as an ATM by this council for the last 3.5 years.
Let me go to Nancy. Nancy, you've been on the school board. You said you brought everybody together, but I looked at the school board, the school budget from 2004 to 2008. The budget went up almost $500 million. That's $500 million. Enrollment during that time fell 1,500 students. A lot of people said the superintendent, Jerry Weiss, basically could do whatever he wanted, and the school board was just a rubber stamp. I mean, the budget was, would you say the budget was out of control with the schools?
Charles, it's very interesting because we tend to have this mode here in Montgomery County, and I have to tell you, it's not obviously public opinion. Most people move to Montgomery County because of the quality of the school system. It is the 16th largest school system in the entire country, and enrollment has increased in children who are affected by poverty and children who don't speak English. And that's why the budget has increased. It's an investment that you have to make in education. And that's what we have done, which is why we enjoy one of the best school systems in the whole entire country.
But $500 million in five years when enrollment dropped, was the school board or just a rubber stamp for Jerry Weiss?
No, the school board is not a rubber stamp. The school board is the one who has to adopt the budget, and we have to stand by it. And when we have an increase, we have half of all the ESOL students in the whole entire state, 16,000 of them. And we have had an increase of students who are affected by poverty. 35,000 students in Montgomery County Public Schools qualify for free and reduced meals. So we have a school system that it's an urban school system, larger than DC Public Schools in the focus zone, okay, within a suburban one.
We're going to go to our break, and I'm going to pick up with that point after the break. This is Charles Duffy, Political Pulse. We'll be right back with Robin Ficker and Nancy Navarro.
Pacific Ocean!
We're back with Robin Ficker on the Republican side, Nancy Navarro on the Democratic side, talking about the Montgomery County election or council election race in District 4. Robin, what's your take? Nancy basically said, hey, the culture of Montgomery County is changing. You have more, basically, I think what she was saying, you have more immigrant population. with greater needs, like English as a second language. You also have, over the last 10 years, affluent people moving out, some affluent people moving out of the county. The population is growing still or remaining steady at about 1 million people, but there is kind of a transition here, and people here maybe have greater needs. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that there are people that have greater needs. I was appointed by Rosa Parks, Aaron Henry, Jacqueline Jackson, Hobart Jackson, to be the first General Counsel for the National Caucus on the Black Aged, and I believe that there are certainly people that have greater needs. Why don't we use the 1,100 school administrators that are paid over $100,000 a year on a volunteer basis to have them teach English for 2 hours on a Saturday for those who are learning, who need to learn English, because if you don't know English, you're not going to be a booming success in Montgomery County. It's very important that they learn English, but I think we're administratively top-heavy. Why does the school system have 1,400 credit cards for only 200 schools? These accounts aren't audited. That's too many. If you had a credit card, wouldn't you be tempted to use it for a lunch now and then that wasn't legitimate? You wouldn't. You're a tax attorney, but I think a lot of people would.
No, but Robin,
We
people,
have to be, and the minorities, you know, as a defense attorney, I've represented people of all stripes, 25,000 cases in Maryland courts, tens of thousands of them in PG and Montgomery County. And I know that there are people with needs. As a real estate broker, I've called every foreclosed owner over the last couple of years. There are people with needs, but we need to be thrifty. These big tax increases are driving them into a situation where our 401ks have been halved, where they're having trouble meeting their family budget.
I asked Nancy if she could stand up to the unions, but people in Montgomery County, there's probably some in District 4 that are worried that, hey, you're going to bring the county government to its knees. You're going to, you know, get up there and just say no, no, no. And I'm not sure what you would say yes to, but what do you say to those people out there who are worried about Robin Ficker getting on the council and all the, maybe some theatrics and that type of thing? What do you say to those people?
I would say to those people, I've been an adult in Montgomery County twice as long as Nancy has. And I know the needs of Montgomery County. I've been to almost every home in the county. In 2006, I received more votes for county executive than any independent candidate for local office has ever received. I know the county.
So you'll be a reasonable force on the county council?
I went to Montgomery County Public Schools. My children did, but I think we need to be a little bit thrifty. The Post didn't say about me that Robin, we have difficulty believing that Robin could say no to unions. I think I'm not anti-union. Nancy is very, very pro-union. I think we need to have a balance on the council so that union demands, I think we need more handshaking and less hand-wringing on the council in dealing with the unions.
Let's get Nancy in here, and you just came out of a very difficult campaign on the Democratic side with the state delegate Ben Kramer, and really it became kind of a negative race, and both of you were sending mailers out. I'm not sure who started it. But one of his mailings really, said, "Shame on you, Nancy Navarro, for what you did in your mailing." So I'm not sure who started it, but what do you say to the voters out there who voted for State Delegate Ben Kramer, and maybe you're a little stung by the whole negative campaign?
Well, I say that, I have great respect for the Kramer family. Former executive Sid Kramer endorsed my candidacy last year, and I think that they have a track record as a family of public service that it's very respectable. I happen to disagree with some of the votes that Mr. Kramer has cast as a delegate, and that wasn't anything personal. It was really calling on his record. But I would also say that the most important thing for me has been to energize a base in District 4 that had not necessarily participated very actively before in politics, and I think it reflects the makeup of the district. It is the most diverse district of the entire county. It has, a socioeconomic diversity as well. And all of those people came out and they supported my candidacy, and they're energized and they want to do it again. So to me, that's what's really important, because at the end of the day, it is about the voters, and there's a message that resonated.
I think that this...
Charles, I'd like to jump in here, because I think that that many of the attacks that Nancy made on Ben were really bending the truth, just as the one she's made on me, which she has widely disseminated. Nancy Navarro was the Democrat who was best able to defeat Robin Ficker and his plan to slash critical county services for working families and seniors. I have never said that I want to slash critical county services for working families and seniors.
What are you reading from,
This is
Rob?
an email that she has sent out to
Her
people.
campaign?
Well, she's in charge of her campaign. Sent out to people around Montgomery County saying, I'm going to slash county services. I'm simply for sticking to the charter limit.
Let's get Nancy to address that. Nancy, have you sent that? Are you aware of that email? Have you authorized it? I mean,
I have authorized it, but I don't understand why there's so much sensitivity here. The Washington Post in November of last year said, usually when a Ficker proposal is on the ballot, and I'm quoting, Democrats, unions, and even Chamber of Commerce unite behind a no-vote campaign, saying the Ficker's approach would hamstring important government spending.
But that's just the way it's going to be in the Montgomery County, though, because I mean, I believe this is probably a structural deficit. I mean, the county council is going to have to be more thrifty. You would admit that, but do you have evidence that he's going to go after the elderly?
Well, I think that as it was asked during the Leisure World debate, and some of the Leisure World residents were asking Mr. Ficker, what exactly, he talks about wanting to move forward on many projects, such as, the monorail on 29, et cetera, a lot of different projects. And they were asking him, you talk about not wanting, and he said he doesn't want tax increases. He said he doesn't want to touch, go into cuts. But they were saying, how can you stand there and talk about how you want to, not have tax increases or cuts, but you don't talk about how are you going to also fund all these wonderful things that you're proposing. So I think that's where the balance lies. And at the end of the day, there will have to be serious cuts, and what he's proposing will go there. Will we have to go and look carefully, I think, in a very strategic way? What are those areas that we have to target? I think I have already done that at the school board. It hasn't just been the $89 million that the unions gave up. It's also a $35 million cut and a $25 million savings that I had to lead with the school board.
But see, she didn't answer the question. Nowhere have I said that I'm going to slash critical county services for working families and seniors. I just say stick to the charter limit on property taxes, which allows a property tax increase every year up to the rate of inflation,
Robin,
but not a 13.5% increase for people who are losing their homes.
But you haven't answered directly all of my questions either, Robin.
Which one do you want me to answer? I'll answer it.
I'll have to go back and look at the tape, but in District 4, the Democrats, I think, have a 2-to-1 registration over the Republicans. I mean, she has the unions behind her, teachers, other organizations.
Sierra Club.
How does Robin Ficker? How do you see this race playing out? How do you see how can you get your voters out?
I see Nancy continuing to do her job on the school board after May 19. Not one person who's endorsed her supported the Ficker Amendment, which passed in District 4, which was passed by 200,000 homeowners. She has the usual people who are opposed to the viewpoint of homeowners, who want to use the homeowners as ATM. My goodness, isn't it time for one person on the council to talk about protecting homeowners? I think it is, and as a real estate broker, I'm going to do that. There are also just as many independents in the district as there are Republicans. There are a lot of disaffected people who voted in that Democratic primary who didn't vote for Nancy, who are going to be voting for me. They've called me, and I think that as a council member, I'm going to represent all the people of all races, both sexes,
Robin,
in District 4.
I want to move on to another issue, the inter-county connectors. Is a big transportation issue. I think it runs right through District 4, doesn't it? It seems like it's already been started. There's financing in place, I think what they call Garvey bonds. What is your position on the inter-county connector, Nancy?
Well, my position was to be opposed. I was opposed to the inter-county connector. Of course, I understand that it is moving forward. I am a supporter of mass transit, and I think it is a very difficult situation for District 4 residents because it does disproportionately cut through our district. There are a lot of concerns, especially, for example, at Leisure World, because there is a section that they're hoping to open before everything else is finished, and that will impact them specifically.
You're not going to try to stop it, are you?
I don't think I can. I mean, there's been already
If you
lots
can,
of.
will you try to stop it?
If I could, I would,
You
but I
would?
am also very practical, and I understand that that's not possible.
Inter-county connector, what's your position?
When I was in the legislature, I voted to cut out funds for the inter-county connector, but 62 or 64% of Nancy's campaign contributions are from developers. She had a $4,000 contribution from Aris Martirosyan, who wanted to turn the beautiful farm in Gaithersburg into such a high-density place that they have to put a stop on the transitway there.
Well, Robin, with the
I
job,
want to see.
we need more development in the county, don't we?
We do. I want to, but I'm not controlled by the developer contributions. I'd like to see a monorail down Route 29. I'd like to see Metro extended to Aspen Hill so that people from Leisure World have a shorter trip to get to Metro. I think we do need improvements, but we don't need a lot of development money controlling this campaign. Developers who are interested in putting high density all along the inter-county connector and disregarding the environmental impact.
Okay, I'm going to give you a closing statement, but not right now. 30 seconds each. Who's your favorite politician throughout history and why? Nancy Navarro.
Somebody that may not be so well known here, but Simón Bolívar, which was born in Venezuela and liberated half of South America. To me, he's been an amazing politician and an inspiration.
Okay. And you're from, is that
I am originally from Venezuela,
okay.
yes.
Robin Ficker, favorite politician throughout history?
Well, you know, I'm having a short-sighted view here because I believe that our country and our county are in big trouble economically. People's 401ks, all the foreclosures. So I have to say my favorite politician right now is Barack Obama because I want him to succeed. And I don't think the presidential campaign, the next presidential campaign, should start for another couple of years. 1 year for that is enough. I want to see this man succeed. I want our county to help him to succeed, to lift up our country, to make our country a shining star, and to make the 4th District a shining star. And I'm going to work with Isaiah Leggett, who lives in the district also, to make our district an outstanding place to live.
35 seconds each, or 30 seconds. Nancy Navarro, you go first. Closing statement.
Thank you for this opportunity. I am Nancy Navarro, and I'm a Democrat for this county council seat. I am going to work very hard to make sure that we bring good jobs to District 4, that we work on smart growth issues, that we unite our communities, that we stand up for seniors and for working families, and that we give our children and youth the support they need. A lot has been said about being in the pocket of unions and developers and everything. I'm in the pocket of you, the District 4 resident. I have a proven track record as a member of the Board of Education and president for 2 years. This is my district, this is my home. The executive has endorsed my candidacy, as has the governor and all the congressional representatives, the Sierra Club,
Nancy,
et cetera. So
thank you
for this opportunity.
Thank you, Robin. 30 seconds, quickly.
Well, I'm going to be the champion of homeowners on the county council. My amendment, the Ficker amendment, was passed by 200,000 homeowners in this past November. Homeowners want to see that implemented. They want someone on the council who's going to represent their viewpoint, which isn't being represented now.
Okay,
they want a homeowner-friendly county council, not an unfriendly county council. And I'm going to be your champion, homeowners. You can count on it.
Thank you both for joining us. Nancy Navarro, Robin Ficker, good luck to both of you, District 4 election. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm Charles Duffy from Political Pulse. We'll see you next week.
If you're not helping after-school programs, you're really helping to take them away. After-school programs,
Wouldn't you rather be helping?